You're listening to MISO, the Mesothelioma podcast, where support, education, and outreach come together for families facing mesothelioma.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Anna Jackson, and we're here with Lisa Barrett, Ellie, and you're going to have to, I apologize, I forgot your name.
Charlene, how will you?
Darlene, and they've been...
Charlene with the C.
Charlene, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Charlene, thank you so much. Lisa and Ellie, I thank you so much for being here today. It's so amazing to speak with you guys about mesothelioma. I know that all three of you have worked in that industry for a number of years. Am I correct? Yeah. And so, Charlene, kind of focusing on you a little bit. We've Lisa and Ellie, we've had them on before. I know that one of the questions was, what drew you to specialize all those years with mesothelioma patients?
Well, I think it's really the patients themselves. They're really tough. They're really pretty amazing. They have a lot of hope and they have a lot of resilience. And it was really incredible to work with them. Given the circumstances, the diagnosis, they never give up. They're really tough, and they're just really amazing people to work with. Salt of the earth people that really appreciate everything you do. They're really easy to work with.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm not in the same role that you are. We actually talk to them when they're first diagnosed, and I don't think that I've had anyone that I spoke to that weren't just, great individuals. Their concerns are really great, which, I mean, knowing the diagnosis, you'll understand that the concerns are there about that. The social worker role is an important one for the mesothelioma patients and families. What made that role more intense and personal to you?
Well, I think it's very intense because I saw the patients and their families every single day. I would visit them on the floor if they were in the ICU or on the floor, wherever they would be. So I'd visit the patient every day. I'd see the families every day. I ran groups for both patients and families. So the relationship became very intense.
Yeah.
I really got to know them, their families, their hopes, their dreams, what they needed, what they didn't, their financial situations. It was very intense, but it was really fulfilling because they let you in and they needed me. They needed a social worker.
Right. I mean, Lisa and Ellie, you feel the same way? Because I know you guys have worked in it in quite a number of years as well. I mean, it was the relationships you guys had with these patients and their families. I mean, most of the families that come into this, I mean, they have absolutely no idea what to do. And so they're looking to you, the three of you, to kind of give them an idea or to guide them in what the next step is. I know that the choices are theirs, but, having someone that knows as much as you guys do about mesothelioma is just, a godsend, really, really appreciate the things that you guys do. And when we talk to the clients, once they have met with you guys, I mean, they have nothing but great things to say with, the work that you guys do. So can you describe your role as a social worker working with mesothelioma patients and their families? I asked that question. I apologize for asking it again. What is the biggest emotional and practical challenges patients face after receiving a mesothelioma diagnosis?
Well, practically, on the practicality side of it, it's really the financial piece. It's really hard to be far away from home. Having to settle into a new city, having to stay there, having to pay for stuff. And, I used to say to them, life goes on. It doesn't stop. Bills still need to get paid. Life goes on, all of that. So I would say to them, if you had to make some sacrifices, I would say, when your loved one is in the hospital being taken care of by these amazing nurses and doctors and so forth, stay home. If you need to work, then when your loved one is out of the hospital and need to recover, wherever it may be, then come if you can. And try to get some extended family members to help you out. But it's really hard. Practically, it's really, really hard. But it's doable. We go through that, and we get them through that in terms of what they need to do.
I think being a caregiver, whether it's a spouse or a family member that's taking care of an individual, you want to be the one there all the time. I don't know if your experiences with the
Yes.
family members, but I know that you're always concerned that, if I'm not there, I'm not going to be able to make any decisions. And what I like to tell people is what you said was you don't have to be here all the time. And I think Lisa had mentioned something about that in a podcast we talked about before, where take your time and go. You're a better caregiver if you take the time to take care of yourself as well. It's really hard. I know it was hard for me to leave the hospital when my husband was going through cancer, but that you really, need to know that that the patient is going to be taken care of, and especially when you have, nurses and social workers like you guys that really care for the patients. They're going to be taken care of. It's what you do and what you love to do, and these people are important to you. And I was fortunate enough. Lisa made it a little easy. She gave me a couple of questions to ask, and I'm so appreciative. Believe me. Sometimes you try to remember, try to think of questions, and I think that's why I'm reading some of these twice. So mesothelioma is often linked to occupational asbestos exposure. How does that unique aspect of disease affect patients and family emotionally?
Is that to me? Do you want me to answer that question? Yeah, sure. I think they're devastated. I think they don't know what to think. We've had patients that have talked to us about, their dad came home, the asbestos was on their jacket, they put the jacket on, they got exposed. I just don't think they know what to think. They are really devastated and angry that this had gone on and nobody knew.
I think sometimes some of the things that they say is they've worked for a company for so long and they devoted their life to that company. And the hardest thing is for them is to think, how could a company like this, someone that you devoted your life to, not tell you that the type of work they were doing or the products that they were using at that company was carcinogenic, right? So they're disappointed. They're disappointed in the company. They had a great relationship with their boss. And then here they are years later having to deal with a diagnosis that is very aggressive. And, the chances are, and as much as I hate saying that, chances are they're not going to survive it, depending on, where they are in their diagnosis as far as staging. And I know staging is hard with mesothelioma and it's different. Is that correct? Am I correct with that?
That the staging,
okay. So yeah, it's a huge disappointment to these people. Now, would they have done something different if they knew? Because a lot of people just needed a job. And, what they needed to do was, get their families through that period of time, right? So it's a little scary that, that some things like that happen and still do. So what are some of the most difficult conversations you have with patients and their loved ones? If anyone wants to answer that.
I think as a nurse, taking care of somebody at the bedside, which was, a while ago, but I think it really is, for me, is probably like talking about their mortality. Are they going to make it? What does it look like? And trying to keep them in the present, right? Because nobody really knows what tomorrow is going to bring.
Right.
But again, I think that, it's a tough illness. So I think for me as a nurse, I think it probably was someone's mortality was a very difficult decision.
Yeah. Do you say the same, Ellie?
Yeah, I think it's kind of keeping their head in the game, keeping, being realistic, but also you have to be honest, and just, having them express what they see, And I think that's what, working together as a team is like just so important. And that's why like Charlene
Mhm.
was just unbelievable, because she had the trust of the patients and their families. Not that we didn't, but she had it in a different perspective. She could follow, what that person meant to the family, where they fit in, how much the
Mm.
family was sacrificing and how much the patient was sacrificing just even to be there.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of difficult conversations that are held, but they're held over a period of time, you know, and that's like, Charlene was saying she had groups, and I don't think you can underestimate the importance of having the caregivers have a safe to talk, without, trying to put on a brave front.
Right. Yeah, Charlene, you mentioned something about, I don't know if it was on a podcast or maybe just when we were talking to you before, you mentioned something about head and heart, right? So, can you kind of tell us what that means?
Sure. I think I always told people that the head and the heart really need to work together, because if you're not emotionally ready to do this, and you're not going to be able to do what the doctors and the nurses and the teams ask you to do, right? You need to
Mhm.
walk, you need to eat, you need to do your physical therapy or whatever it may be. So your head really needs to be in it, your heart really needs to be in it. You need to work together. And
Yeah.
that's a really, really important piece. For example, if your mood is really low, you're not going to be able to get up, you're not going to eat, if you're starting to give up, that mood piece is really, really important for people. So
Right.
I think it's really important to try to check in with folks, every day.
Mhm.
How are you doing? How are you feeling? Where are things at for you?
Mm.
For both the family and the patient.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so true. So
Yeah.
many patients are overwhelmed by medical appointments, financial concerns, and legal questions. How do you help them manage these competing stressors?
Well, that's a hard one. But yes, it is really tough. Because we don't, everything has to continue to go on, even if the patient is in the hospital. At home, their bills have to get paid and all that kind of stuff. So, whatever resources the hospital has, I think every hospital is probably different, but whatever resources that we have in terms of like hotel stays, discounts, the meso house that we had, that kind of stuff is really helpful. Talking with lawyers and seeing where things can go for them.
Yeah.
So all those things are very, very important for people, and leaning on your family is really key if you can and if you have family. And
Yeah.
that's
No,
not always the
absolutely.
case.
Right, right, right. It takes a village, right? It
Because
takes a village. What misconception do people have about mesothelioma patients' needs beyond medical treatment?
the misconceptions, like what they don't need.
Um,
Or maybe people think that they don't need a lot when they actually really do need a lot of care and support.
well, I mean, even after treatment, there's still so much that they have to go through. I mean, what I'm hearing, and you guys correct me, what I'm hearing is that a lot of what they're doing now is managing mesothelioma. Am I correct with that? That it's more of they're not actually the surgeries are not as big as they used to be, and it's more of managing mesothelioma, the cancer. Is that what you're hearing, or no?
I think that maybe they're not doing like removing the lung like they used to,
Hmm.
as I think that's rare if someone does that. I don't know anyone who's doing that currently. And
Hmm.
I think that oftentimes there's other treatment paths besides surgery. But I think, you know,
It
whatever
really
treatment,
depends from patient to patient on what they're doing.
I think so. But whatever treatment you have, you're faced with a different set of problems, right? Nothing, it's a difficult disease. It's a difficult treatment process. I think the big thing is that you you could do it alone, but it really is much more successful if you do it with people.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
And
so
and
go ahead.
actually them having something to manage, something you know, the initial goal is to make it a chronic illness. so that, patients are surviving and thriving longer with the
Mhm.
disease. So that's, and, that's really a key point for, because as of yet, they don't have a cure. But if they can, patients survive longer and live a good quality of life, then you can kind of point to that as worth going through all of this.
Right, right. Are there, Charlene, can you share a story or an example without, by, while protecting the patient's privacy that illustrates the resilience you've seen in mesothelioma patients or caregivers?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that comes to mind, certainly. We had a young woman who came to our mesothelioma orientation, and she had just had a baby, and she was young,
Mm, mm,
and she was exposed by her dad. And so she fought really, really, really hard. Her resilience was amazing. It was not easy at all. I remember seeing her in the ICU. Her family came, her husband came. We did a lot of crying. It was really hard. But in the end, a tough road, lots of bumps, but in the end, she kept going because there was a reason for her to keep
yeah,
going. She had that baby and she needed to keep going, and she was amazing and strong. So the resilience was incredible. And I think every one of the patients I've met has some reason. Someone wants to walk someone down the aisle. Someone wants to go to someone's wedding. Someone wants to do, there was a farmer we had. He wanted to go back to his farm.
right.
Everybody had something they were holding on to, and I think that
Mm,
really got them through.
yeah,
It's a
that's pretty important to I mean, you're saying that, and I'm thinking about that. Anytime you have a focus,
Yes.
something that you can focus on that can take you away from, okay, there's going to be a lot of pain here. I'm going to go through a lot, but here's my focus. I want to raise my own child. I don't want someone else raising my
Right.
child. I want, to walk my daughter down the aisle or whatever it may be, whatever the focus is. It's funny, I was reading something the other day, and one of the things they ask was, "What is your focus? Why are you doing it? What's your goal?" And is it that you're going on vacation in a couple of months, or is it, is there a reunion that you're looking forward to, or something? So it's kind of the same sort of concept. Find that focus that can get you through. And yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that, but it is true. For some newly diagnosed with mesothelioma, what advice would you give them and their family during those few weeks?
Not to panic, even though people are going to try to stay off the internet if you can, because
That's the
go there.
hardest.
Yeah, because we all do that. I mean, that's where things are. But you try to try to tell them that. Get keep going. Don't be assertive with your doctors. Be assertive with your team. Make sure you're getting your appointments. Don't let things slide. Time is important, right? You get the diagnosis, and time is very important. So you want to make sure that you're following up. The doctors are following up. Taking notes anytime you go into a meeting with anybody, see if somebody else can be there and take notes for you. There's so much information,
Mhm.
and you as the patient, you can't hear it, and sometimes the loved ones can't hear it either. So I would often sit in those consults and I would take notes and I would give them to people, because it's
Yeah,
really so
yeah,
it's scary and it's hard and it's emotional. And when you're emotional, you don't hear anything.
yeah, yeah. I think about that. I don't know if you guys watch Charlie Brown, and anytime adults would talk, it was always that wah 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 wah. And when I think about that, I always tell people, yeah, if you can have a family member there with you, because one will remember something and the other one didn't, and that way you would have all the information you needed. And it's as difficult as it is, if the word cancer is something that a lot of people hate and are afraid of, and as time goes on, and it's been somewhat of a slow process of finding new treatments for mesothelioma. It took many years before the last treatment or the immunotherapies came in or whatever it may be. But I always tell individuals that they need to be able to manage their health. I mean, they need to ask the question, not be afraid to ask the question. And they should be, especially to you, Charlene, and the nurses. Maybe, Charlene, you're probably the one that they're able to talk to a little bit more about that. I'm feeling a lot of pain. What can we do for it? I think they need to not be afraid to ask the question, because we get them, and I'm, I can't do anything. I just, tell them, you have to ask the question. Don't be afraid to do that. They're all struggling quite a bit. And, no one wants to be in this place. But it happens, unfortunately. Lisa, do you have something you'd like to, any questions you might think we should be asking, or is there anything else that, that you guys want to share about, your, what you do and
I think we were, as employees, we were spoiled by, the center of excellence that we all worked at, right? Like, we had the best of the best. And I think that if you have mesothelioma, you need to get to a specialist.
Yes.
I think it's so underrated. I think that you'll be given opportunities that maybe a smaller place couldn't provide.
Right. No,
whatever the reason. It's not that they're bad. It's just that a center of excellence, I mean, everybody has their field of expertise. So I think if you can get to a center of excellence, that's what you should do. And again, I think that, it is costly, but there's resources out there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with looking for the right mesothelioma, facility, physician that knows how to treat this. It took years before they realized, what this cancer was. And it took years to get the, any changes for treatments. You want someone that has the background, that has worked with individuals. Sometimes it's hard to, usually we'll ask the question, do you have someone that's special, who are you going to as far as their medical? A lot of times we don't have the choice to send, refer someone. Sometimes we do. And when we do, we try to send them to someone that knows what they're doing. And, but you ladies, thank you so much. I so appreciate everything you guys do. I know that these families that have worked with you, are so grateful to have you guys there. You don't get that always. You don't get the personal touch from all nurses or social workers. And I so appreciate, the work that you've done and the work that you're going to do. So I thank you for being here with us today. And Charlene, did you have anything else you'd like to share with anyone?
No, I don't think so. I just think the patients and the families are pretty amazing, and I felt we need to work with them.
Yeah. And they're going to feel that way because they know your personality fits them, right? And so thank you. Ladies, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. And listen, you guys have a great day.
All right, take care.
We'll talk again soon, okay?
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for listening to MISO, the Mesothelioma podcast. For more information, resources, and support, visit our sponsors Danziger and De Llano at dandel.com.